All right, let's dive right into this explainer. When you really start unpacking the data, there's this deep, growing divide in how Canadians perceive the massive rise of artificial intelligence, and more importantly, what it actually means for our financial futures. Right now, there is a huge conversation happening across the entire country. And it's not just some abstract debate for tech developers in Silicon Valley anymore. It's a reality hitting absolutely every province. So we're going to look closely at the data and the real-world shifts happening in the economy right now to understand what's really going on beneath all the hype.
It's honestly fascinating how stark this contrast is. Right now, Canadians are completely split. On one hand, you've got people who see AI as this unprecedented money-making machine, literally a tool that's going to create the next great wave of wealth and efficiency. But then, on the flip side, you have an equally large group who fears it as a quiet job killer. They see it as something that will systematically replace the very people who hold our everyday economy together. The big question here isn't whether AI works. We already know it does. The question we really need to be asking is, who captures the upside first, and who ends up carrying the downside when the initial hype cools off?
Section 1. The Great AI Split. So how is it even possible that two different Canadians can look at the exact same headline and see two completely different futures? Well, let's look at the first perspective. A younger worker, or maybe someone already well-positioned in a growing industry, might look at a new AI tool and just think, great, I can do way more in less time. For them, AI is this massive boost in personal productivity. It means clearing their inbox faster, generating reports in seconds, and freeing up their whole day for high-level strategy. To them, this tech represents upward mobility. It's freedom from the daily grind of repetitive tasks.
But flip the coin, and a 58-year-old worker looks at that exact same tool and rightfully worries. They might be sitting there asking, well, if this does half my job, what happens to the other half? And you know what? Both of these reactions make complete sense. This split isn't just emotional, it's playing out in real life right now. You see it when a receptionist starts using AI to answer routine questions way faster, or a bookkeeper suddenly processes twice as many files in a single day. The efficiency gains are incredibly real, for sure, but they definitely don't always land in the same pocket as the pain.
Moving on to Section 2. The Gold Rush Reality. To figure out who actually wins and loses in this scenario, we really have to look past the shiny new technology itself and focus on the environment it's operating in. Think back to the historical gold rushes. In a gold rush, most of the people out there digging in the dirt don't actually strike gold. The people who consistently make the most money are the ones selling the shovels, renting the rooms, hauling the supplies, and cleaning up after the dust settles. And honestly, AI in Canada is starting to look a whole lot like that. A small group providing the infrastructure will see massive gains, another group is going to feel intense pressure, and the vast majority of us in the middle will probably just feel confused by the constantly changing headlines.
Think of this whole AI transition like a classic Canadian winter road. When the snow is light, everybody thinks they're driving just fine. But once that ice builds up, the cars with good winter tires, meaning the people who already have the right tools, the right skills, and ownership, they gain better traction. AI gives them more grip, more speed, and more control. But for those doing routine, repetitive work with zero cushion underneath them, that exact same icy road starts to feel incredibly dangerous, and they start sliding fast.
Section 3. How work actually changes.
So, what does this sliding actually look like in practice? If you're watching this explainer from the comfort of a really stable job, you might just assume you're completely outside of this story. But AI job displacement doesn't usually happen with some massive cinematic bang. It creeps in slowly, often quietly disguised inside a spreadsheet. First, one low-complexity task just gets trimmed away. Next, as efficiency rises, a role gets combined. Then, management suddenly realizes an entire team can be smaller. Finally, the remaining people are simply expected to carry a lot more weight. Nobody announces this change with a trumpet. By the time everyone realizes the work culture has shifted, the transition is completely done. The lesson here isn't to panic, but to really pay attention to these small, incremental changes happening in your own workplace.
You can literally already see this redistribution of work in everyday Canadian life. Just think about your own neighborhood for a second. Bank branches are cutting back frontline staff and telling customers to just use their app. Medical clinics are replacing simple phone questions with automated AI assistants. Retail stores are adding rows and rows of self-checkouts, where one single employee now watches over 4 or maybe 6 machines, usually while we're all standing there waiting for them to clear an unexpected item in the bagging error, right? None of these changes seem completely dramatic in isolation. It just feels like business as usual.
The big takeaway here is that when you put all these examples together, work isn't just vanishing into thin air all at once. Instead, it's being redistributed. Some tasks are being pushed upward, where one manager now oversees vastly more output thanks to AI tools. Some tasks are being pushed downward, requiring far fewer entry-level folks. And this whole dynamic leaves those middle-tier workers totally stuck, doing just enough to stay busy, but not nearly enough to feel genuinely secure in their long-term value to the company.
Section 4. The retirement ripple effect.
Because when workplace stability gets a little shaky, it doesn't just stay at the office, right? It follows you right through your front door and deeply impacts your personal finances. For workers, especially those in their 50s and 60s, they aren't just thinking about their hourly wage. They're thinking about everything those wages support. A disrupted paycheck immediately threatens fixed bills. I mean, your mortgage still comes due. The heat still needs to come on. AI might be magic, but your utility bills absolutely do not care about your job uncertainty. Plus, this disruption hits right when RRSP plans are supposed to bridge into RRIF withdrawals. It heavily increases reliance on government programs like CPP and old age security. And underneath all of this, the CRA is quietly taking its share, regardless of whether that money was generated by human sweat or a machine-assisted process.
And let's be clear, this isn't just some abstract story for tech founders in Toronto or Vancouver. It is about ordinary Canadians from coast to coast who desperately need a clear picture of the future so they don't end up feeling financially squeezed. It impacts the truck driver in Winnipeg who's worried about automated logistics. It impacts the admin worker in Mississauga watching their data entry tasks evaporate, the small business owner in Halifax just trying to stay competitive, and the semi-retired couple out in Alberta trying to make their RRFF last. People in their 50s often feel this so much more sharply simply because they don't have infinite time left to retrain, absorb financial losses, and start over.
Which brings us to Section 5, Labor versus Ownership.
Now we arrive at what I think is absolutely the most crucial part of this whole explainer, and it's the part most people completely miss. Who exactly captures the upside of all this newfound efficiency? It turns out the real line in the sand isn't some simplistic debate about whether AI is inherently good or bad. The real dividing line is power. If AI helps you produce more value, like if you own the business, the software, the client list, or the distribution channel, it can dramatically raise your income power. You absolutely end up on the winning side. But if AI makes your work easier to copy, shorten, or automate, it directly weakens your bargaining power. It's not really about the technology itself, it's entirely about how the technology shifts leverage in the workplace.
So we really have to ask this fundamental economic question. In an AI-driven world, who exactly gets rewarded? Does the market reward the labor, the actual person doing the hands-on work? Like if an AI tool helps one worker do the job of two, does that extra value flow right into that worker's paycheck? Or does the market reward ownership? Does the upside of that massive extra productivity flow straight to the factory owner, the investor, or the tech platform? Historically speaking, efficiency gains tend to heavily favor ownership, which is exactly why paying attention to how you fit into this equation is so critical for your own financial stability.
AI absolutely has the potential to create massive wealth here in Canada, but it is not going to happen for everyone in the exact same way or at the same speed. Some folks will definitely strengthen their income, while others will undoubtedly feel a very real squeeze on their wages, their hours, and their job security. So I want to wrap up this explainer by leaving you with a vital question to ponder about your own workplace, your own skills, and your own financial future. Looking at the road ahead, will AI make more Canadians richer first, or will it make work feel less secure first? It's a reality we all need to be prepared for.